So we live in a world where the pace of technology adoption continues to accelerate, and as we know certainly from the mobile space, where entire regions are starting to leapfrog some of our developed economies. And what we have here, and this is obviously a huge challenge for some of the startups we see here, but it's equally a challenge for established giants. And nobody knows this better than our two discussants today here, Zehr, the mayor of Kitchener, and Brenda Halloran, the mayor of Waterloo. And a woman, yes. And they are going to be interviewed by Marcus Guy, who's an award-winning Globe and Mail columnist, what we all know. And he's going to ask them what's happening, what went wrong, what's next, and how do these mid-sized cities recover when a very significant employer runs into trouble. So over to you, Marcus.
All right. Well, I guess being in the news business, I'm compelled to ask a kind of newsy question to kick things off, which is the big news in tech in Kitchener and Waterloo these days is RIM and its woes, which seem to get worse and worse. And I'm very curious to begin with just how that's affecting your communities and your hopes for being a tech hub of the future.
So I'll take this off because about 2 weeks ago when the RIM announcement came out about the 5,000 affected employees, I think I must have done at least 20 to 30 media interviews that day. And it was quite a big story nationally and of course across Canada. But for us within our community, it was kind of interesting because we're not overreacting to it. RIM isn't the main player in town. We're not a one-horse pony town. And we've got a lot of other businesses, a lot of large global entities in our community, and we have 1,300 jobs going open right now in our high-tech sector. So RIM's announcement has been a concern for us because the effect on our families and the people in our community and who's going to be affected. We don't know the numbers within our own community, but that was more of our concern and focus, is the effect on the people who are going to be affected. But RIM has been oozing out employees for quite some time, and they're being absorbed in our community, so we haven't really seen much of a change on that. So it is a big story, and we are completely supportive of RIM. We're behind them 100% as a community. They have been such a strong corporate champion and a philanthropic corporation for the region that if only all our corporations in Canada were as generous and invested so much. So I think that RIM is probably within our own community just part of one of our many large tech companies, our universities, our financial sector, manufacturing sector, who are employing a lot of people. And we're doing okay. We're doing quite fine. So my question has always been back. So Bill Hutchison, are you here, Bill? Because I'm going to say something a little bit stirring it up, is why is the Canadian media so intent on maligning RIM? Because they're one of our largest Canadian corporation. Thank you. Thank you. I don't understand it, and I'm also encouraging a lot of our federal and provincial government leaders to carry around Canadian technology and proudly showcase it wherever they go. So we shouldn't be eating our young as Canadians. We should be supporting each other and supporting our tech sector. And RIM to me is someone to support. And just remember, IBM and Apple face their own problems, and look where they're at now. RIM's going to be just fine. Thank you.
Well, Brenda has said most of what I was going to say as well, but RIM is still a very large corporation, but neither of us are here to defend the corporation in terms of what it has to do, because that is their issue. However, long before the announcements of a number of weeks ago, the community was very economically strong and remains so today. And I think what has been missed in the media is the perspective of all of the technology firms. There are about 1,000 technology firms, active firms, that are within the region of Waterloo, as well as the traditional sectors that we have, financial, manufacturing. In fact, our manufacturing, about 18% of our labor force is in the manufacturing sector. So it is very strong. It has breadth and it has depth. So and when we were being introduced, the comment was, well, what about the problems you have? And I sort of reacted to it because, yes, there are some issues that are being addressed, but I don't put them into the category of a problem.
It's not a problem that RIM, the pillar of your tech community, is in such trouble. I mean, to speak a little bit up for the media, if I can.
I did that for you.
I don't think we're being, vultures by paying so much attention to RIM. I mean, here is RIM, the absolute paragon of the Canadian high-tech industry, huge success story. Mm-hmm. Our hope as a country for moving beyond hewers of wood and drawers, hewers of wood and drawers of water, and they are in deep, deep trouble, and that's got to be concerning to you.
No, my comment was not that there were not some difficulties at RIM in terms of the structuring that they have to go through. That wasn't my point. It's putting it into the context of what the region of Waterloo has as its backbone. The region of Waterloo has reinvented itself many times over. The City of Kitchener is celebrating its 100th anniversary, and I'm doing some historical research for it. I found that not only did the city involved actually invest in some of the businesses over the decades, that entire 100 years, we are continuing to do so today, and it moved along with the times. And we will make our whatever shifts we need to in order to accommodate this hiccup at this point in time.
How much can government really do, though? I mean, I guess that's one of the themes of the conference is the role of government in promoting innovation. So much of innovation is entrepreneurial, comes out of geniuses like Steve Jobs, for instance, in the garage.
And Mike Lazaridis.
Yes. Michael Lazaridis. I have to wonder, though. I mean, I recall the example of the French who found they were falling behind in the pop music industry because all pop music was coming out of Britain and the United States, so they created a ministry of rock and roll. Didn't, as you can imagine, didn't work very well. So I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts about how effective government can really be at promoting innovation? Isn't government's bureaucratic sort of dead hand often doing the opposite?
Well, in fact, I think it was Bill Hutchison that said a few moments ago that what governments need to do is send the appropriate signals to the private sector, and they will do a lot of this. We established in 2004 an economic development investment fund. It was $110 million, totally from property taxes. And that was sending a signal. As soon as we had done that, the private sector started to pick it up. We used a number of that working in partnership with the University of Waterloo, Wilfrid Laurier University for 2 campuses in the core of our city, and some of the traditional things that we did as well. Out of that, we also contributed to the Communitech Hub, which is a hotbed of activity in terms of new startups. Right now, on average, there's about 1 new startup per day that is coming from that one location in an old building that was once a tannery, largest one in the British Empire, and now it is the place to come for startups. So that's where government can start to help.
What do you think, Brenda? What's the role of government? Do you think government needs to get out of the way, or does it need to give a helping hand, or what's its role?
I think we need to do all of that, and we need to be strong partners at the table with our innovative industries. As municipal government, I think it's really incumbent upon us to create a community where startups and the high-tech sector and any business wants to come and start to invest and to grow. And Waterloo Region is the same day that we heard about RIM, the Conference Board of Canada said that Waterloo Region is going to lead the nation in economic growth and development. And that's something that we as local government are very excited about and very proud of. And you have to build the base as governors, and you have to be leaders, you have to show the way. You want to be innovative. We want to be pilots of technology, offer up some of our opportunities within our municipal government to ask technology to step up and show us some ways to improve all the things that we are doing as municipal government, because we really can use that help and assistance. So we need the private sector to invest with us, in us, as well as partner with us, and we need to be strong partners at the table as well. And I think a lot of the cities that you're interviewing are doing that very well.
But isn't the city's role more to provide a sort of a city that works,
yes,
rather than isn't sort of higher government's role, if any government's role, in sort of investing in the companies and the education system? Isn't it more your role to fix the potholes, to be blunt?
Well, you know, fixing potholes is a part of the city's roles, and that always is interesting to me, because cities, we have to fix potholes and we have to worry about barking dogs. We got a lot of things we got to worry about. We also have to assist business and be innovative ourselves, and we do have to get out of the way if we're holding companies back, and I think we're aware of that. But as a City of Waterloo and the City of Kitchener, we have been investing ourselves and partnering with a lot of our local especially our universities. So the City of Waterloo, several years ago in the region of Waterloo, worked in partnership with the University of Waterloo to create our 120-acre research and technology park. We see opportunities like that. The City of Waterloo donated land so we could be partners with CG, with the Balsley School of International Affairs, with the Perimeter Institute. I think I see that role of government as being a partner at the table, because we see value in innovation and we see value in bringing think tanks and collaborators and innovators to our communities, because that's where business is going to happen and it attracts others to come.
One of the additional things that certainly municipalities have to do is have a strong infrastructure. But part of the difficulty in not the public so much, but really other orders of government understanding that infrastructure is not just about roads, bridges, and sewers. It is about how you hardwire a community. We've talked about it here, the capacity of the network. And so that's where we, as municipalities, have to ensure that we bring the partners together. But it's not the municipalities that are doing that work. Ultimately, it is the private sector. We have to, again, send that signal that this is a vision, this is a goal of our city, our community, our region, and then the private sector will step up in spades, as they did in the example I just gave with the Community Tech Hub.
This is an era when governments are so constrained, though. I have to wonder how much more investment we can expect. I mean, at all levels, federal, provincial, and municipal, at least in Toronto, where governments are facing huge financial challenges. They're paying down debts rather than reinvesting. So in an era like that, how realistic is it to expect investment in
I think it still
innovation?
is realistic, because what other orders of government who get their income through income tax in particular and sales taxes don't always appreciate that they will get their money back. Municipalities do not necessarily. It is an economic situation, an economic proposition here. When they invest in those areas that have the capacity and the talent and the other resources, the people resources, to actually make things happen, those are the places where the investment should be. And I think we continue to see that on particular projects that are coming forward. But as we talk about the hard infrastructure, the other orders of government need to make sure that they are not constraining and putting too many conditions on the things that they are assisting municipalities for. But it's much more than the hard facilities.
Do you think Canada and the world at large is aware enough of your region as a tech hub? We don't have the same buzz as the Silicon Valley, for instance, although this is sort of the Silicon Valley of Canada. But do we need to be promoting it more? Do we have enough profile?
I think we're very well known, Waterloo region, throughout the globe. I've been fortunate to travel a fair amount because of the City of Waterloo won the Intelligent Community of the Year award in 2007. And our city has been very involved in the ICF movement, and I'm chair of the alumni of Intelligent Communities globally. It is a great marketing opportunity for our region, because when I get asked to go out there and talk about Waterloo region to global businesses and governments, they know about us. And the University of Waterloo has really put us on the map, as well as the Blackberry, as well as RIM. So I think the Waterloo region is very well known outside of here, but we must continually be going to outreaching to continue to sell ourselves and to brand ourselves. What we're doing right now through Canada's Technology Triangle, under the great leadership of John Young, is sending the mayors out to sell our communities. We're taking trade missions out globally. We've targeted specific cities and countries. Carl just came back from a trade mission to Germany. Mayor Doug Craig of Cambridge was in China, and I'm taking a trade mission to India in the fall. And Carl was on a trade mission to Brazil last year. So we're really specifically targeting areas that has the opportunities for our businesses, the opportunities for our universities and college, because not only do we want to attract and retain international students and of course knowledge workers, we want to go out and see what opportunities exist for our students and our businesses to go to. So we're a great marketing machine. We're proud of our region, as you can tell, and I think we're holding our own. We're punching above our weight. I know for Carl and I, we've gone to cities that have millions and millions of people. My best story is for Waterloo. About two or 3 years ago, the city of Chongqing, China, which is the largest city of the world, a population of 33 million people, asked Waterloo if we could be friends. They wouldn't have heard about us unless it was because of the global work we're doing and the intelligent community work we're doing. So we have established a friendship with them. We now have a permanent garden in their massive garden over there, and working on building those friendships and opportunities. So yes, we've got to be out there, and as Canadians and as Canada, I'm going to go right along with Bill Hutchison. We are so far behind. I know most of you have traveled. You've seen what's happening in Asia. You see the technology, and for us to think that we're bringing in a magic card, and they've had it there for 10 or 20 years, it says it's got to be a warning sign to all of us in Canada who are involved in this to step up and push ourselves more and ask our federal and provincial governments to be a partner with all of us.
I think just to add to that, some would say that, and you've intimated about through your question, that, well, we really don't know for sure what is really happening in the region of Waterloo. Yes, we know about the Blackberry and so on, but there's something about being, whether we want to be the hare or the tortoise. And I would suggest that we have been quietly going about our businesses within the region of Waterloo and have suddenly are at the forefront. There is a spirit of collaboration that I have yet to see amongst governments, private sector, company to company, sector to sector. The collaboration is there. It's something in the DNA that goes back all the way to my forefathers who came to that community 150 years ago, in terms of working together in innovation of whether it was at the agrarian stage many decades ago, right up to the technology. We have moved along with the time. So we may not be as well known. However, each step of the way, with the 400 or 500 new startups, as an example, that are coming out of the hub and have come out of the hub in the last year plus, they are now starting to be the next RIMs. So while I am concerned about what has happened currently and the effects on the community with RIM, I am super confident about the future with all of those other young entrepreneurs, and not always young, but new entrepreneurs who are that next RIM, that next open text, that next Christie Digital, and they are very, very strong.
How hard is it to attract and keep talent, tech talent? I mean, both locally and foreign. Are we seeing people come from India and China to live in Kitchener, Waterloo to work? Is that sort of thing going on, or are we becoming? Are there issues there in terms of visas and that sort of thing?
A lot of it is happening through the university, coming as students, and then they become part of it. But we're also attracting some out of the Silicon Valley as well. The current, I think his title, is the CEO of OpenText, references this in terms of the kind of collaboration and that he's seeing here is what was there in Silicon Valley. So we're starting to repatriate a number of people that have otherwise been abroad. And certainly when you take a look at, walk through the hub as an example, you wouldn't necessarily put them into the category of Brenda and I, not age-wise, but in appearance. They run the gambit in terms of culture, ethnicity, and language.
Mm-hmm. So it's an international thing. And universities are playing a key role there too. Can you talk a little bit about the sort of synergy that's happening between higher education and government and private industry?
It's so important. I think it's so crucial to any community successes to have that synergy. And the cities work very well with both universities. Carl and I sit on the board of governors of both universities. We're well connected. For the city of Waterloo, we have the universities and we have many, many students. So we're always looking at opportunities to engage our students and to make them feel as part of the community. When you talk about attracting and retaining talent, sometimes you just have to ask them to stay. And I find that quite refreshing because when we meet all these amazing young people who are graduating and doing their startups, and I'll often say, "You're going to stay here? Or do you want to stay?" And they get the nicest look on their face. "Really? You want us?" "Yeah, we want you to stay. And how can we get you to stay? And what do we need to do to create a good place for you to stay?" So there has to be a really strong partnership, which we have, between the cities, the region, the universities, and our business sector. We almost, as Carl said, it's kind of an interesting place because we just naturally collaborate. And I've often been asked to talk about the region and why we're doing so well. And when I talk about being collaborative, I just assume that that's how everybody is. And as Carl said, we're realizing it's not, and how fortunate we are. It's about having the right people at the right time with the same vision and dreams. And I think we've got that mix happening in Waterloo region, and we're very, very fortunate. It's very exciting times.
Of course, it's not just about collaboration, is it? It's also about risk-taking.
It is.
I sometimes wonder whether Canada has that kind of gambler spirit you need to break through. I covered Asian business for a while, and wherever I traveled in Asia, I found people saying, "Where are the Canadians?" Because Canadians were so used to doing business with the U.S. that it was such a gamble to go to remote India and so on. Are we developing that kind of culture of risk-taking enough, or are we still a bit too Canadian to
that's a great question.
break through?
We are both, and I think the great thing about Canadians is our humbleness, but we are risk takers. But then we'll take the risk and then we'll sit back and say, "Well, it wasn't, that's us." And I think that makes us very successful, especially in the business world and going out on the global stage. Is that we as Canadians, we have a different way of doing business and a different way of dealing with people, and I think we're making our mark. I mean, we can always do better, but I think as risk takers and innovators, I think we're always punching above our weight and living beside a giant. I always look at Canada as living beside the States, a big giant. So we've always got to be a bit more competitive, right? We're the little guy, we're going to do it. I look at Taiwan. Taiwan's kind of has the same feeling to it, a mentality as Canada, because they're beside China and they've got that kind of, yeah, we're going to take this on and we're going to do it. And I think there's synergies like that around the globe that Canada is connected to, and it makes us, I think it really makes us shine out there on the global stage.
You can't, I think the biggest risk takers in the world are pioneers and immigrants, and we have them in spades in our community. And that sort of filters through to everything that we have been doing lately. If you talk about risk, that economic development fund that I spoke of a few moments ago, $110 million, that was a huge political risk. It was, you guys are going to be turfed out of office because of this. And through successive elections since then, not one person has been defeated in an election who supported that. So we do have that kind of risk-taking mentality, and that has been picked up, obviously, with the business sector as well.
You mentioned some of the future RIMs in your community, promising startups. Can you mention a couple that attract your attention that are interesting?
I don't think that I
Well,
am
without
able to
wanting
do
to
that.
promote them, I mean,
No,
what are some of the, put it this way, what are some of the areas that...
There are a lot in the technology field, obviously. In the, at the hub, there are people who are working on applications, but new ways of handling data is a significant issue. There were, just this week, there were two companies already existing within the region who have, one was announced an expansion, and the other one is a new company coming in from abroad. So that kind of activity is there. It's not just the startups, it's the stronger companies who are actually expanding. So there's still a lot of significant development that is going on, and the existing companies, the larger companies, the Christie's, Christie Digital, and the OpenText continue to evolve in new directions.
I can mention one.
Okay.
I can mention quite a few, but there's one, and I don't know if Dana Fox, are you here? Clever U? So Clever U is, I'm going to be really proud about that because it started on the front porch of my house. And he had met up with a gentleman named Bill Waters, and the two of them started talking about e-learning and how they can put a lot of school-based programs onto the internet. So they started up about 2 years ago, and Dana is, I think, is going to be probably one of our most transformative Canadian businesses. You're going to hear about him very soon. He's signed monster deals in China, and he's going to really put Canada on the map for e-based learning, as well as Desire to Learn. Last week, Communitech just had this launch called Hyperdrive, and Communitech is our local nonprofit, it's nonprofit, Carl, nonprofit agency that assists startups and our tech sector. And at Hyperdrive, there were 7 young biz startups just given money by venture capital networks, and said, go forth and prosper. And boy, the excitement in that room was palpable, and we all are standing there and saying, this is going to be who's the next RIM? Who's going to be the next OpenText, the next Christie Digital, the next ComDev, the next Desire to Learn? Like the corporations and the businesses are fascinating. But we also have a very vibrant manufacturing base that we tend to forget, and they are a very diverse group from automotive to food manufacturing to everything you can imagine. So we're fortunate when people do talk about RIM. We know ourselves the diversity of the economy and the diversity of the businesses in our community, as well as we have a huge financial sector, the insurance industry, and of course the academic sector. So this all added together is creating some really magic, innovative excitement in Waterloo region. And to be able to spend a few minutes talking about it is a real joy for me, and I'm sure.
Brenda's laid out the challenge you're coming up with. MyoVision is a real-time traffic management company, and started out in a garage, like many of these things, with 2 people, and has been continually expanding. About every year, they need to have a new location, and they're expanding their products and their corporation as well.
How does that work, real-time traffic management?
It's a little stand, as I've seen it only once, at the corners of intersections, and will give you real time what the circumstance is, and adjusting traffic lights and that sort of thing.
Okay.
I think you're getting the hint.
Yeah, I think we're running out of time.
Oh, we're getting the fickle finger. All right. Well, thank you both.
Thank you.
This was very interesting.
Real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.